Hello everyone, and thank you very much for purchasing my new tutorial. It's called Mixology Part 1, and in the first part I'm going to show you how I mix two colors together to form a new twisty that will give you an interesting variation in the glass colors. The colors I'm going to be using today are Sim Thai Orchid. It's probably one of my very favorite glass colors. It's just a beautiful, rich, deep purple that's all on its own, provides some beautiful variation in color. It goes from a dark to a light, all just in this one magical rod. The next color we're going to be using is Boreas by Double Helix. It's a beautiful reducing glass. Get some beautiful greens and blues and purples. When you reduce it, you also get some just wonderful metallic effects. I just love this glass. The next glass we're going to use today is Sim Crocus. It's a beautiful semi-transparent light purple. Just really love this color. It's easy to work with, melts nicely. And the next color we're going to be using is Moretti White Rose. It has a slight roughness to the glass, almost like ivory, and it produces some of the same kind of curdling effects that ivory does, but it has this nice little pink twinge to it, and when I mix it with the crocus, it just really gives some beautiful effects. Here's the finished twisty of that. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but some really interesting color variation when you make that twisty. Today we're just gonna, in this video, I'm just gonna show you how to do the Thai Orchid and the Boreas. The process is exactly the same, whether you're working with the Crocus and White Rose or the Thai Orchid and Boreas. So we're just gonna use these two today, and let's get started. First, let me mention that I am on a natural gas and oxygen torch. It's a Nortel Minor. Had it for many years. I love it. I also love being on natural gas. I'm piped right into my main line, and gas is always available, always ready, no changing tanks. You do have to deal with a little bit of a different flame chemistry. I don't have the nice candles here that you get with propane. So I kind of just have to go by feel as to whether I have an oxidizing flame or a reducing flame. Sometimes the candles will show you that, but that doesn't work the same with the natural gas. So we're just going to start by warming the two glass rods in the flame. Also, my Thai Orchid rod here is a little bit smaller than my Boreas rod, and I like that because I actually want more of the silver glass in my twisty than I do the opaque glass. I also have my gas turned way down because I do not want to reduce my Boreas glass before I tell it to, I guess, before I'm ready for it. So I'm working with a very oxidizing flame. So I'm just going to warm the two ends of these rods here, get them nice and molten, and then just smush them together. And I'm going to continue warming them, going a little bit further down the rod on each side to build up a little bit of a blob there in the middle. What about the size of a large pea? Just work those two together. Not twisting, just twisting both rods the same. I'm not really mixing the glass at this point. Get a nice sized blob there. What I'm going to do is just overlap the two rods. Just like that. Then I'm going to start heating the rods again. Once the rods get nice and warm, a little bit molten, I'm going to give them a twist. Just about 180 degrees. Not really mixing, just kind of blending, I guess you could say. Continue to heat that blob back up. Want to get a nice blob in the middle again. Once I have my blob nice and molten in the middle, I'm going to do another fold, and then I'm going to heat that back up again until the ends of the rods are nice and soft. And then I'm going to give one more half turn there. And then I'm going to melt that all together. That blob form in the middle there. To have a nice molten blob once again. Do that overlap one more time. I don't really have a set number of times I do it. I just kind of go by the size of the blob and know what size twisty that's going to pull. So just get it nice and warm so that I can get one more twist. So now we have a nice blob in the middle there. I'm trying not to trap any air bubbles. Air bubbles will make your finished twisties very shocky. So I really try and melt these two rods together without trapping a lot of air. It's nice and molten, and then I'm going to start kind of pushing and pulling the rods, kind of work that blob in the middle. What I want to do is get it kind of more of a football shape so that the ends of the two rods will cool first and not pull right away when I start my pull of my twisty here. A nice shape and a nice football shape. Don't let those ends get too hot. And kind of do a little push and pull. See where the glass is nicely variegated. And once my center blob is nice and hot and my ends are fairly cool, I'll start my pull. That one a little bit more on the other side. Okay? Now I don't pull real fast. The faster you pull, the thinner of twisty you're going to get, and I really don't want a thin twisty here. So when I go to make my base bead, I want to be able to control the size of it so that I can put more or less glass on if I need to. So then I just pull a nice even twisty, and then I'm going to flame cut it down here. Round off the end of my rod so it's a little bit easier to start with next time. The hot rod down there, and then I'll round off the end of my Boreas rod that I just cut. There we go. And so this is our finished twisty. You can kind of see the color variation where the two rods are mixed together. They're not totally mixed, but they have a real nice gentle swirl. I don't twist a lot as I'm pulling these, just a little twist so that I can kind of control the twist later on. I can twist it more or less depending on the effect that I want. Okay, that's the first part of mixing and making the twisties. And now we'll move on to making the base bead and then making the final bead. Alright, let's get started making our base bead and then our final bead. So I'm going to take one of my mandrels here. I use Bucket of Mud bead release. I've used it for years. I love it. I've tried several other bead releases, and I always go back to Bucket of Mud. It's just my favorite. It's really easy to get the beads off the mandrel. It dries in the flame nicely. And if I leave my mandrels sitting and drying for quite a while, that I can still use bead release doesn't crack apart on me. The color I'm using for the base bead is the Moretti Violet. It's a nice saturated light purple, and it reacts interestingly with silver glass sometimes. You get some green highlights in there. So I really like the Moretti Violet. Warming up my rod here. Get it nice and hot. And then I'm just going to drop my warm end of my violet right onto the rod and start twisting. I usually start all of my beads, or at least my round beads, with a spiral wrap. I find that that works best for me. You can use whatever technique works best for you. We're going to end up using the CG bead roller to get a nice round bead, so whatever works best for you for getting the glass on the rod. Just a nice, even spiral. There we go. A quarter size there. I'm shooting for starting in the smallest cavity there, my CG bead roller. So I'm going to add quite a bit of glass to it, and it actually goes up about 3 sizes as we add more glass. So I'm going to start with the smallest bead. Get a nice round bead there. Drop it in there, my cavity. I'm not too worried about the ends and the shape at this point. Again, we're going to add a lot more glass. So it fits nicely right in there. Alright. So I made another twisty of the crocus and white rose. It's a little bit wonky, which unfortunately makes them a little bit more shocky. So we're going to want to warm this very slowly. If you have a rod warmer, that's great. The white rose and crocus rods tend to be a little bit more shocky than the Thai orchid and boreas twisties. So we just want to start very slow, keeping the base bead warm. So I've got a nice little ball at the end. Bring it a little bit further down there. I'm just going to touch that first end down and just start making a nice spiral wrap around the bead. Now here's where I can do more twisting or less twisting. I can pull my twisty a little faster to get a thinner stringer on the bead, or I can do it slowly, put a little bit thicker amount of glass on the bead. And to be able to control the amount that I put on, just kind of pull it on, go around about 1.5 times. There's one time. There we go. So I've done about a 1.5 wrap there. Turned my gas up a little bit as I was putting that twisty on, so I want to make sure I turn that gas way down when I start to put on the boreas and Thai orchid twisty. I don't want that boreas to reduce at all while I'm working with it. You see a little bit of a metallic sheen to it as you work with it. That kind of burns off. So then I'll start just on the opposite side from where I started the last one. And then I'm just going to wrap right into the gap there. And I can lay my twisty on exactly as I fold it, or I can twist it a little bit as I put it on. A little bit more variation. Do another 1.5. So there you go. Now you can see I've got the two colors, twisties, wrapped on there. And I just want to melt those in. Just melted them in. Twist the bead a little faster. Keep a nice even heat. Grab my bead roller again here. I'm going to put it right into this cavity. Kind of mash it in there, form it, and then start spinning. Got a pretty nice, evenly shaped. Keep rolling. Now I'm going to do my swirls. Can't seem to stop doing swirls. I have to swirl everything. I love the swirl. So I'd like to put the swirls kind of where the twisties ended. So as I'm heating the bead, I kind of look for where the twisties end. You don't want to heat the bead too much. You don't want to lose your shape. So you just want to heat the spot where you're going to start twisting. So heat this one spot right here. Put my twisty in, just give it a little bit of a twist. Not too much, just a little bit of a twist, and then we'll break that off. Nope, I got it. A little bit too much clear on there, so I actually want to just pull some of that clear out. Want to heat the end of my stringer, my clear stringer, as I'm working here, so that doesn't get quite as bubbly. I'm going to turn the bead a quarter turn, and I put the last swirl on the left side, so I'm going to put the next one on the right side. And just break it off. Okay, do another quarter turn, just heat that spot there, put my my clear stringer in, break it off. I have just one more area right here. My twisty in, and give it a twist. So I do quarter turn, left, right, left, right, left, right. Bead's a little misshapen, but that's okay. Our bead roller is going to take care of that. Getting it nice and warm, and put it back in here. Try and just kind of push it in there. Make sure that I kind of mush it back into a nice round shape. Okay, and I can twist. My rod turns nice and evenly, so I know my bead is even on all sides. Just spend a little time shaping here. Make sure that my ends look good. If I have a little bit too much pucker on one end, I just warm it up, kind of pull it in the bead roller to that side a little bit. Repeat the other side. Put it back in the bead roller. Just get that side a little more even. So then I just roll it around, give it a nice warm up, get the chill marks out. Constantly shifting its center of gravity so I don't get more glass on one side than the other. Okay, so that looks pretty nice. Kind of see what it looks like there. So I'm going to take the bead out of the flame, let it cool down just a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm just going to crank up my gas. Just crank it up as far as it will go. Again, you don't see the long yellow candles. You don't have that with natural gas. But rest assured, we do have a very reducing flame. So now I'm just going to gently coax it through the flame. I can already see the metallic colors start to bloom. I like to over-reduce them. That really brings out the greens. Gets just a little bit of webbing started, not too much. I don't want my colors muddy. Just want a little bit of that opaque green. Just gently waving it through that really reducing flame. I'm checking it in my light that I have over here to the left of the screen just to see if I'm getting the colors that I want. And that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is dial my gas back down to a very neutral flame. And then I'm just going to give it another couple of waves. The neutral flame takes out a little bit of the metallic and lets the real greens and purples of the glass shine through. What I also love is the white rose actually reacts a little bit with the silver glass, and you get kind of a brown around the edges. I think that's really attractive. It gives it a really nice, soft, organic look. Just a couple more waves. Not too much. You don't want to lose all the colors that you just got with the reduction. Just checking it in my light. And there you go. And that is the first bead from the Mixology tutorial. I'm going to put it here in my kiln. Got a chili pepper set at 960. I'm just going to garage that and I will check it in the morning. Well, thank you very much for watching my tutorial. If you have any questions, please email me at whitney@lassini.com. Thanks.